Hi, friends. Kevin Duragi. Welcome back to the Kevin Duragi Show. I'm a real estate investor, agent, and coach. Today is episode 5, which means we have 4 in front of this. This is a chance where you could go back. If you haven't watched those 4 in front of us, put a 5-star next to it, share it with your friends and loved ones, and start a conversation and build your own tribe. Today, we are going to start unpacking the end of this series, right? This is the last of the monologues that we're doing. So coming after this, we start taking what we talk about, like the real life, the real estate, and we start talking with real life investors. We talk about their struggles and how they overcame it, and like the real life, not just the Instagram beautiful pictures, right? We talk about how to overcome the ugly side of some of this real estate stuff, right? And the stories of like when people could barely make their bills before the house sells, and like the real side of it, not just, oh my gosh, she made so much money. So it's exciting. I'm excited to have some of the speakers coming up. You guys really just stay with us. Like, this gets awesome. All right. So now we're going to finish up the last 2 steps, right? So step 6 is roadmap, and step 7 is the accountability. So let's take this roadmap, because this is probably the climax, the pinnacle of all this stuff is coming into building your roadmap. Just to recap here, remember, step 1 is mindset. So the size of your map, the big world that you can dream of, right? If you could dream it, you could do it, right? Mindset is the size of your map. That is such key, right? That's so important. So step 2 is understanding where you're at, where you're starting from. So that's the snapshot. Step 3 is deciding where is it that you're going, right? We call it destination. Step 4 is vehicle. So that is the relationships, right? Because it's all about relationships. That's what step 4 is. Step 5 is the tires, right? That's the traction. That's where you start putting KPIs on real life. You know, it could be a relationship with your wife, could be how many houses you're buying, could be how many times you're walking, right? These are the things that start having grips, right? That can start holding people accountable, right? Because now you have numbers, you have metrics, right? So that's step 5. Now we're in step 6, where we take all those things we've been working on, we actually put it in that map. And the way this map came about is this picture right here. So this is my wife and I at my wife's surprise birthday. So this is our old house. This is many years back. And at the time of this picture, you could look at it and be like, oh, that's sweet. You know, just little young Kevin with a little facial hair. That's fine. But if you look at this a little bit closer, 1, she didn't think she could be surprised. We surprised her. And we kind of surprised her in another way. Is it was supposed to be a party, meaning like it's happy and it's fun and all this stuff, but it wasn't a party at all. If you look at it again, you could look at us like our teeth are showing, right? But we're not happy. Cami and I at that time were kind of struggling in our marriage. I wanted to be this full-time, I wanted to be a business owner, and she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. At this point, we had 2 kids. She was a stay-at-home mom and was miserable, right? Because she loved like talking to adults, right? She liked actually having some adult time. I was a full-time business owner, but I was doing everything, right? I was a general contractor at this time. So that means I was swinging a hammer all day. I'd come home, I'd look at bids, I'd do this, I'd clean the truck, I'd have to go do taxes. I did the bookkeeping. I did all the things, right? All the hats, all the solopreneur stuff, but this time of construction. And at the time, it was going through the recession, right, that we had in the early 2000s here. So not a lot of people were doing big deals. It was a lot of just pay the bills best you can. So I firmly understand people just getting by, and that's a placeholder. But the big thing is to come up with a plan. So at this party, my wife likes wine. I guess most women do. But I have no idea about wine. So I went to the store and I bought a bottle of white, a bottle of red. I have no idea if they were good. They're probably the cheapest ones I could. I went to a local sandwich shop, bought the family platter, biscottis, actually. And I bought what we could. And you know, here's the food. It was all probably pretty inexpensive. It was probably pretty cheap, but I couldn't even afford the pretty cheap side. We had some balloons. I probably borrowed them from somebody. We played some games. It seemed like it was fun, but we weren't happy. We weren't enjoying it because we knew we were in a bad place and we needed a change. And that's where this roadmap really kind of sunk in. So this is where it happened. At that point in time, I was Kevin 0.0, right? I was struggling in my marriage. I wasn't a great dad, right? Kids were small. Dad's changing diapers. Wasn't into it, right? Not what I was looking for. Every time I had to go to the school for some concert or something, I was just dragging my feet, ho-hum, not really excited. Didn't want to hang out and talk with the people. If I'm being honest, this is where we were. We were making our mortgages. We didn't have much left over for food and entertainment. It just was a very, very tight time. My wife wanted the nice house and the big car, and I was just happy we were able to put food on the table, right? There was a little bit of a disconnect in how things were going, but I knew we were meant for more. Have you ever felt that? It might be hard right now, putting that cheese on the hamburger, actually getting that cheeseburger, but you were made for more. There's more out there for you, right? You have that dream. Your mindset is too big. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Well, guess what? I thought I could, but I needed a plan. That's how we made the roadmap. So I said that was my 0.0, was the Kevin I was that day. And I put out this dream, this goal, because I didn't think I could do this until I was in my 60s, right? Until I built up enough money. But I said, you know what? I want to become a full-time real estate investor. I figured that if I was able to do that, the skies would open and just the world would be my oyster. That's a 3.0. Now let's rewind that back. So Kevin 1.0, right? Think of different versions of yourself, right? Kevin 0 is where we're at. If you step up, the next step is 1.0, right? Think of like a software update that Apple or Microsoft might send you. So version 1.0 was if I clean up some of these loose ends in my life, right? If I had a better invoicing system, if I could do my bids faster, if I had finished up these loose ends of my life, it'd give me more bandwidth that I could be a better efficient contractor, right? That I could run these things quicker because I wasn't spending as much time on these other parts of my business, right? If I closed up this project in the house, I wouldn't have to have that lingering over me. I could just go in and do work, and then I could be home, the different sides of it, finishing those loose ends, right? So my Kevin 2.0, if 0 is me with all these loose ends and a mess and just pulling my hair out, not happy, 1.0 is operating as a general contractor in this case, is more optimized. And my 3.0 is real estate investor, right? Full-time. My 2.0 was my business would be running. I would have a little supervisor, somebody kind of taking more of that up, and I'd be able to get into more wholesaling and possibly even get into partnering on a rehab, right? So it's kind of dipping my toe. I was going to start reading the books and going to the seminars, building my roadmap to that 3.0 lifestyle. So I'm going to go in and kind of tell you something. There was a story I heard, and it was about plantation life down in the South. And they said what they used to do, instead of saying, hey, we're going to harvest the South field. Well, that South field is big, and it's going to take many days to harvest it. And it gets a little daunting kind of doing it all at once. So what they say is that you take a big stick and you throw it out as far as you can. So your goal then is going up to that stick, right? That's your objective. All right, we're going to the stick today, guys. Yes, there's the whole field, but it's such a big world. It's such a big field that you don't actually see everything yet. You don't know what you don't know. So let's just get to the stick, right? Able to take that, eat the elephant one bite at a time. That's what going out to that stick is, right? So there could be a world in my mind, people have asked, like, why don't you have a 4.0 or a 5.0, Kevin? And the idea is you don't know what's past that stick yet. You don't know what opportunities are going to open up. I thought if I got to a full-time real estate investor, I'm done. My life is over. Like, it is fantastic. I might as well be walking on clouds every day. I'll tell you what, I've been here like 15 plus years. There's more to it, right? Now I see a new 1.0, a new 2.0, a new 3.0. And now it's my job to go walk to those things. Am I throwing out my goal for the 4.0? No, I don't know what that looks like yet. I could only go out to the stick, right? Whatever I can see from here, that's what my 3.0 is. And if we do this right, like going through our coaching, that 3.0 self is going to tie in a lot to what your perfect day and your eulogy look like, right? What activities were you doing? Who is it that they were speaking about? Were they talking about your character? Were they talking about your profession? That's that 3.0 self, right? That is your ideal self. What are you doing? What does that guy do? And now you could start visualizing what that person is. And this full-time real estate investor was what I was going to do, right? It's what I was going to become. Now, does life turn out all the way that you think it's going to be? Does life unfold the ways that it should, right? Here's the plan, just go X, Y, Z. No, it doesn't, right? That's where, in my particular case, a company approached me. I didn't approach him. They said, hey, I'll tell you what, you're doing good. We want to bring you in, right? Why don't you become, and it's where I got into the sales side of construction, right? Go out, talk to people, and we have all the labor, we have all the crews. Just go out there and do the consulting. It's like fantastic, right? Takes out part of what it is that I was doing, right? Part of my goal is to clean up my business. Now part of that was taken care of. I started working there. Fantastic. Loved it. And then a company approached me. Again, I didn't look for it. Somebody approached me, says, hey, I'll tell you what, we'll double your income. We need you to oversee some of these projects. We'll fly you around. We'll start doing all this stuff. Oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? I'll say yes. So I started doing that. And that's how I got into the bigger corporate America world. And then I realized, man, I don't like working with people I don't want to work with. And that's where I was at. And then suddenly I wasn't. So all those ideas of building up all these safety nets and piles of money, and that's how I'm going to do things, it's not how it worked. But the roadmap that I created actually fell into place a lot faster than I thought it would. It took me a little bit to get my first deal done, but once I did, I got one, and then I got two, and then I was able to start building a business, right? And I was able to start kind of using the connections and relationships I had. And that's where I go back to the solopreneur, then I started doing rehabs, and it was actually some of the down parts that I've had in that industry led me to meet the right people that really exploded some of my business. So yeah, not all bad things are bad, right? That sad picture I talked about actually was the moment that made me break through and really kind of make a plan and go after it. Guys, you could do this too, right? We could take the same roadmap, begin it in the end in mind, right? That destination idea, look at it, and then start becoming that person. Will you always have the title or all the different credibility? No, but be that person first. One of the crazy stories I have to tell you about this roadmap, a friend of mine and student, Anthony, he went through our program and he did a share. So when you go through the coaching, you share this with the tribe, the group of people you're with. And I'm privileged that I get to help walk out some of these terms. And in his particular case, guys, it's crazy until you actually start seeing this stuff happen in your own life. So he was working at a movie theater, and somebody came up to him and was like, hey, do you know you look like Chadwick Boseman? And if you don't know who that was, that's a famous actor. He was Black Panther in the Marvel movies. He was Jackie Robinson in Jackie. 42. He was Jackie Robinson in 42. Terrific actor, right? And he died of cancer. Terrific man. So there was a spot because the character Black Panther kept going on. So these people are like, hey, do you know that you look like Chadwick? He's like, oh, yeah, I get that here and there. I'm like, okay. And it was an older couple. She goes to the bathroom, and he's like, hey, do you know who that is? He's like, no. Why should I? And he's like, she's the headhunter for the Marvel movies. And she comes back, and she's like, yeah, it's true. And she's like, I'll tell you what. If you scrape together enough money and get out to L.A., I'll be your agent. We'll get you. We'll see how you do during an interview. So he comes to me and he's like, Kevin, I don't know what I should do here. I'm like, dude, you just got a freaking lottery ticket. You scratched that puppy off, man. So he actually came to the tribe, the group of people. It was like, guys, I need to come up with X dollars so we could go. He didn't have all the money. So, I mean, all right, I'm in. We all put our resources together, and he went out there, and he had a fantastic interview. I think he ended up staying for maybe a week and a half out there at Universal Studios and doing all the things. Just an amazing time. And then he got a nod to come back and become, I think it was 11, and then it was 7 people, right? So he flew out a second time and interviewed, and now is like one of 5. And then now he comes back, but each time he didn't know who he was supposed to be. He didn't have all the proper pieces yet. So he was noticing there was 2 things. 1, you need to learn how to act, because he wasn't really an actor. But 2, he actually had to start bulking up. Like physically, you have to gain so much pound, so much definition, right? There's some CGI to it, but he needed to do this. And the first iteration that he had, he wasn't that weight. They're like, hey, if you're going to make it, you got to get up to this size at least. And he's just that fast metabolism, he's skin and ribs, but he needs more muscle mass. So he actually went out and started a diet regimen. So he was drinking raw eggs every morning. He was doing the shakes and eating the rice. And he'd come back. He's like, Kevin, I'm working. I'm going to the classes to learn how to act. I'm working out. I'm doing this. I'm running out of time. So I was like, all right, Anthony, what do you have to do? We solved it, right? He was able to say, all right, well, food prep, getting the food and the food prepping and dishing out, just taking too much time. So he found somebody to help do that for him so he could start becoming the next version of it, so he could focus on his things. And then each incident that came up, we were able to solve for it until he actually got, thumbs up for session 2 going through it. Now he's like one of 5 people, and he's at the proper weight. They're like, dude, you're great. He's doing his coaching. He's doing his stuff. He's doing all these activities. Plus he's still working, paying the bills, doing all these ideas, still being a dad. And then we get to, they're about to do the 3rd interview. He's one of, I believe, 5 people. And the next day he was about to fly out, and they go, hold up. What kind of forever was about to go to show, right? This is why they're bringing him out. Said, hold up. We don't want to change the message of this movie by introducing who the new Black Panther is. We want to take away from these actors, right? How about we hold up on this and we'll introduce the new Black Panther in a little bit. So they didn't have him come out. He didn't interview for it. I'll tell you what, he was brokenhearted, right? Just shattered. And it took him a little bit to kind of recover, but he's like, he kind of grew back together. He's like, you know what? This is my role. I'm going to win this role unless I don't want to. And, we go through all the iterations. He starts the classes again. He starts doing all this. And then he realizes, he is acting as his 3.0 self. Right? He was already character-wise, mental-wise, he was that guy. He was solving the problems. He got, buff. His character is just amazing. He's just an amazing young man. And then he's like, Kevin, the contract that we have to sign says if the studio wants us to be a gay character, if they want us to kiss a man, we need to do it. If we want to do this, we don't have a choice as an actor. You signed this agreement. And he's like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want someone else telling me I need to do something that I don't believe in. So he got down to a point of being so close of being this, but also his character wouldn't allow him to say yes to those activities. So the idea that he could be the next big superstar, movie star guy, but he decided not to go after it because it messed too much with his character. Now, part of me is is a little upset, is a little just crushed because he worked so hard to get to that spot. But then part of me looks at him and how much he grew as a man in a very short period of time. His ideas in the beginning were very just 1.0 lifestyle, right? Basic questions. How do I pay for my car? How do I do this? And then he was like solving real stuff. Hey, I have so much time. I have so much things. What can I delegate? Who do I need to be? Who do I need to know? What coach do I bring in? And he was able to start solving major life questions. And when he got to it, he didn't like the answer that what he was signing off on. Do I want to sacrifice this to be this? He ended up saying, no, I don't. I want to keep who I am and then find the right place where I plug in and I could be a successful person. I would say he is successful. So Anthony made a roadmap, right? At this point, he was working at a movie theater, right? He had a son. He was trying to connect the dots, pay for things, lives in an apartment, has a nice car, but he was kind of grasping at a lot of straws, right? Still making some silly decisions. And he was like, all right, well, I kind of have a couple different jobs, a couple different things going. I really kind of want to develop. I want to leave where I'm working, but I can't quite do that yet. So in my 1.0 self, I'll still work there, but I want to start introducing new money, right? I kind of like cameras and videos. So let me start doing some of that. I'll get into some real estate stuff, but that way I could kind of make a roadmap to kind of get out of where I was working at the movie theater. His 2.0 self was like, you know what? I'm going to leave where I'm working. I'm going to use my video stuff, because he loves movies. And he's also going to start doing more real estate. And then his 3.0 self, he really wanted to be a producer, right? So getting into the movies, having that lifestyle, putting his artistic vision together, right? Artistically and all this stuff. And by doing that, he's going to have extra cash. He's like, dude, I'll just become a lender to all the tribe and all the people who need money, right? I could focus on this world and help fund this other world because it helps both of them. And then that's where he was working at this theater. And this person came up and I was like, hey, do you know you look like Chadwick Boseman? And man, his life went for a big turn. His life hit the gas pedal, right? He was able to start looking at what that 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 self really looks like. In my case, remember I got different jobs as a contractor and kind of went different. Well, he went into that, if producer was his 3.0, like getting into movies and productions and stuff, well, man, now he was becoming an actor, right? He was standing in front of people like Shaquille O'Neal and Denzel Washington and Keanu Reeves. And like he was seeing these people, he was meeting these people, right? The authors, the producers, the movie directors of the first Black Panther and other Marvel movies, like these were the people he's shaking hands with. Like, what an amazing adventure. He even told me like the director, the writer of Black Panther was so interested in his story of overcoming all these things that he was just like, man, they ended up having a talk for a couple hours. And it was this guy asking Anthony, right? Tell me more about that. How did you do that? With such a lousy like, how did you become this man? Fascinating, isn't it? Fascinating. And Anthony's story isn't over, right? But we don't know what that looks like yet. And that's the thing is, he grew so much, right? He didn't know all the things he wouldn't know yet, but he's still developing. And who knows? Maybe that major role out there is just waiting. Maybe that person is still just waiting for that character. When we were discussing it earlier, he needed to become better. He needed to become smarter and wiser, because the character he's going to become was such a person that bridged the gaps, right? His character was immense. Chadwick was an amazing man. And a lot of people would compare him to him. But he had to become that person himself. Not a second Chadwick, right? But Anthony. He needed to be himself, just on a bigger level. And he was able to slide up that scale and become that person, that character, a lot faster because he had that roadmap and he did the work to go through those steps. All right, so that's roadmap. That's step 6. Remember we talked about step 7? That's the accountability. That's the co-pilot. That's the person sitting in the vehicle with you. That's the person saying, hey, stop looking at that shiny object syndrome, right? Start looking at what it is that you said you're going to do. If you gave yourself these KPIs, if you gave yourself these checkpoints, the 1.0, the 2.0, the 3.0 self, and you said you're going to start building these healthy habits, well, do them. Did you do them? Great. Did you not do them? No. Well, guess what? You will show up for somebody, when you start going to the gym in January, just like everybody else, and you make it one time, you make it two times, and then it's cold and you're like, oh, my bed's so warm, right? That happens. But if you had a friend or accountability partner that says, hey, we're going to meet at 6, I don't want to get out of bed, but I don't want to leave this person. Like I said, I would do this, and I'm going to go do that. Right? That's the accountability. Where accountability also comes into this roadmap, gosh, this is I don't enjoy this story, but it's, I think, a powerful story. So roadmaps and accountability work two ways. One, it's a way that you can make sure that you're getting the goals that you set out for yourself. The other way is to help other people kind of stay true to their goals. And then you could also look at yourself. So I was in a scenario, I had a couple students, and they wanted to find a house. He was in construction. She was an agent. At this time, I wasn't an agent. And I just had a deal fall in my lap. I said, you know what? I have a deal. I have the money. I'll buy the house. You do the rehab. I'll help. And then when we're done, you sell it, and then we'll split the proceeds. Sounds like a deal that you would say yes to, right? And I'm friends with these guys. And so I was like, fantastic. This sounds great. So we're doing the rehab, and I noticed, man, I'm doing a lot of the work. I kind of want them to experience some of the fun of this. So I was like, okay, I'll back off a little bit. And I talked with them along the way, and great, here's the contractors, here's the things. Okay, well, they're a little slow, this a little slow. And eventually we get to a point, I'm like, man, this has been all summer. This should have been done in 2 months. I stepped back in and started finishing it up. And then there was a lot of contention between us, the two of them and me. And I'm like, man, this is weird. We should all be doing well here. This is a good day. We are now a couple weeks from being done. And man, the relationship is really getting tough, right? There's a lot of stress on us, on them, on each of us, right? Because they had some other personal stuff going on that was causing extra stress to it. And I just started getting really frustrated, right? Because now they're blaming me for things. And I'm like, blaming me? I gave you the deal. I gave you the money. I've been helping you. Why are you upset with me here? I thought I was being very generous. And going through this, and some stuff happened, and I was just getting angry. If you don't know this, I'm not really an angry kind of guy. And so I'm sitting in the house. I'm working on some stuff, and I'm just fuming. I just want to go off. I just want to just get it out, right? Be angry and just diminish these people. But I was like, Kevin, that's not who you are. So when you level up, right, became that full-time real estate investor. What happens is you get to start your new path, right? Remember, that stick is thrown out. I got to the stick, and now it's time for me to throw a new stick out. So for me, I was that full-time real estate investor. That was my new Kevin 1.0, right? My main income is from flipping houses, real estate, etc. So I said, all right, well, my new Kevin 2.0 will be coach consultant. So, I'll start doing more stuff with coaching and consulting. I'm still doing investing, right? But I'm going to start doing more on this other stuff. And I said, you know what? My 3.0 self will be an influencer. Not one of those crazy guys, on YouTube or whatever. But it's one of those, I want to help influence people to make better decisions, right? Use the different platforms to help create a bigger stage that I could help people make life-changing decisions, right? So whether it was speaking on stage or starting a podcast, right? These are the path that I started walking, right? It's like, okay, this is what I want to start doing. And so these students that I had, we get to a situation and I'm just fuming. I'm angry, right? I just want to tell these people that they're making poor decisions, right? But with a lot of strong words. And I'm sitting there and I'm in the kitchen. I remember this. And I felt myself seeing red, just fuming, steam coming out of my ears. You could probably relate to these moments. But and they were late. And it's just one of those, if you know me, I don't like being late. I don't like other people not honoring our time together. And I'm just like, oh. And I'm like, Kevin, who are you right now? You have every right to go in and operate in Kevin 1.0 as a real estate investor and just be upset at your contractors. I'm like, but I'm not Kevin 1.0. I'm Kevin 2.0 at this time. I want to be this coach. I want to develop these people. And if I go in with a Kevin 1.0 mindset that they are not doing, that particular job well, then you're still just a 1.0 Kevin. You haven't upgraded to 2.0. And I started thinking about that. I'm like, okay, I am going to operate as Kevin 2.0, right? Just a little house rehab. That is so 1.0. I'm going to worry about more of the people behind the situation. So I said, okay, I'm going to be a bigger person and I am going to operate out of Kevin 2.0. So they come in and, I'm cordial and we start talking about all the different things. And then I used this roadmap for them. I said, hey, your 1.0 is this self, right? You said your 2.0, you wanted to become a real estate investor, right? You wanted to kind of make the leap from contractor to an investor yourself. Here's an opportunity. I'm inviting you in. I'm inviting you to step up and act like an investor. You can do this, you could do this, and we can make this done and we can make money, right? We're still splitting everything. And I invite them to step up into their new self. And it's the way I was expecting everything to go. And this is what happened. They didn't walk with me. They actually decided to step back and said, you know what? We are more comfortable operating in our lesser selves, right? We're going to go back to the 1.0 self. We're going to go back to our 0.0 self. And we'll just be our contractors and we'll just be an agent. And we're not going to go into this. We're not going to step up and become what it is we said we would. Again, I don't like this story, but I'm highlighting it for you to know that these roadmaps and this accountability, right, the KPIs and having these checkpoints, it gives you a way that you could speak to somebody and also hold yourself accountable for these actions, right? If I didn't look at myself and say, hey, you're acting as a 1.0 self, you're a 2.0 self. Don't go back to that guy, right? If I wasn't able to go and invite them up, hey, step up and become a bigger self for you. Like, come up to this investor world. They decided no, and they stepped back. That's not my job as a coach. I'm not here to drag them. You can't want a goal more than somebody wants to do it. You could encourage them, you can motivate them. Most of all, you could inspire them to become this self. But if they don't want to walk that walk, you can't make them. The saying, you could bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I mean, here's the tools, but it's still up to you to apply them. When you get to that moment, when the stress is high, when the burden is heavy, are you going to step out in faith? Are you going to do it? Or are you going to just step back and become your old self because that's what you're comfortable with? So this is one of my favorite quotes, and it's by Teddy Roosevelt. He's just done all these amazing things, right? So he came from a wealthy family who struggled with like a weak lungs, right? They thought he was a weakling. So he decided to start just physically becoming strong and beating all of his adversity, right? So he learned the good life, right, over in Oyster Bay there. Then he went out and did the Rough Riders out in Montana, right, riding horses and shooting guns and just doing manly stuff. He came back. He was a police commissioner, right? Cleaned up the city of New York because it was just a freaking mess. So he did all that. He went down. The Spanish-American War started. So he got his Wall Street buddies. He got his Montana Rough Rider guys together, and then he started the Rough Riders. So he pulled up his friends from Wall Street. He pulled his friends from Montana, built the Rough Riders, and went down. And his famous battle there was the Battle of San Juan Hill, where they just rushed up and took out the Cubans there up on the mountain. Like, it's just freaking crazy stuff that this guy did. The politics were so crazy. They're like, man, he's going to become a problem. So they're like, why don't we hide him as vice president? So instead of electing him or putting him in the Senate or any of these other things, because he's done all these amazing things, they hit him as vice president. And then William McKinley gets killed, right? He's assassinated in office. and how the guy they're trying to keep quiet and kind of shove in the corner becomes president. And he starts revamping everything, right, as leadership from the top down. And he was one of, I think his biggest things that I think is so incredible about him is during peacetime, he was able to make a lot of initiatives in a sense of urgency. He started the Great White Fleet. He went over and met Japan with their Navy, right? Like, this is crazy stuff. We didn't need to do any of this. It was a time where just people were bucking up. What can we do? After his presidency, he went over and did safari hunting in Africa. He went and explored the Amazon. Like, this is a man who did some stuff. Like, it's just awesome. And when he gives some advice, like, I want to listen to it. So this is his quote. It's the man in the arena. And it goes like this. It is not the critic who counts. It's not the man. It's not the critic who counts. Not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, but there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. My friends, I'm asking you right now, are you going to be one of those cold and timid souls, one of the critics who are sitting in the stands? Are you going to step up? You're going to step up and be a doer of deeds. You're going to find out that your face is going to be marred. You're going to be sweaty. There's going to be blood. It's not easy, but you're going to understand what great enthusiasms and great achievements feel like. You will feel fantastic and feel like you're flying. You're also going to have those days where you feel like you're punched in the gut. You just want to give up. But you don't want to be a timid soul. You want to be the man who strives and his hands up like Rocky. Adrian! Right? You're a champion. You have that 3.0 self. You have that ability. You can do it. Don't let those crabs in the bucket, right? Don't let those critics in the stands pull you back or ever get you in the arena. Get in there, man. Try it out. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's it's fine. No, it's going to be tough. You're going to get punched, right? You're going to have to work out a little bit, but that's okay. Start using your roadmap. Find out who you want to be. Start being that person. Put numbers to it. Add some traction. Find somebody to hold you accountable. Do it, right? What do you need to do? What's the recipe for your success? Start doing these items. What is stopping you? Chances are the thing that's stopping you is you. So start feeding yourself with good stuff, right? Remember that mindset? Start putting in good information in your mind. Worry about the most important real estate is between your ears, right? Your personal drives your professional. Start worried about you, right? What can you do to make you better? It's all about relationships. The relationships with your sleep, the relationship with your food, with your body, with your mind, with your heart, with your friends, your loved ones, right? Your relationship with money, your relationship with your career. Guys, your relationship with your future. Do you want to be that cold and timid soul that never stepped out of their 0.0 self because it was safer? Do you want to be that cold and timid soul, right, who let the quicksand take them out? Remember drowning in that quicksand? Guys, there's troubles. Are you going to go out, reach your hand out, yell for help? Find that coach. Find the person to pull you out. Find your tribe, right? A tribe of people there to help you out who's on the same journey. You could feel their wins. You could help soften their blows. Guys, find your tribe. Join us. Join the tribe. Watch our next episode. It's Dave Onanian, right? He's had amazing highs. He's had some crazy lows, but he's overcome it. He's doing fantastic. Guys, Sean McCloskey, amazing. First deal, he lost bunches of money. Second deal, guess what? It got better. Now he's a nationwide speaker doing amazing things. Guys, this is life. This is real life. This is real estate. You can do it. We could help. Join us for episode 6, coming up next.